Okay, tonight we'll discuss the core of Rosh Hashana. And I want to hear from all of us, in a word or two words, what do you think Rosh Hashana is? How do you define Rosh Hashana in your own words? One or two words, which means the core of Rosh Hashana. Because if you say a sentence, there's a lot of things. I want to target the core of Rosh Hashana. Please, Mordechai.
The beginning of life.
Beginning of life. Why beginning of life?
Because Kafhei.
Kafeh Elul is beginning of life.
The beginning of everything, and then life came at that day of Rosh Hashana.
The life of human being.
Correct.
Beginning of life of human being. That's right. Idan.
Creation of Adam.
Creation of Adam. Yeah, same idea. That was 5,784 years ago. But what's today? What is Rosh Hashanah today? Which means in 2 weeks from now, what do you feel about Rosh Hashanah?
New Year's,
It's a new year. Is what? Test results, which means connected to the judgment. Day of judgment, right? So that's the faces of Rosh Hashanah that we all know. But in reality,
Lizkor it.
Yeah, to commemorate what was
Which I learned from
5,000 years ago.
I learned from you, Igor, your community. You do the 1 year. Wow, it's amazing.
Maybe celebration of life.
Celebration of life.
Human beings. Humans. Celebration of the creation of human beings.
But why are we making such a serious day? Which means if it would be just an anniversary, so it's time for celebration and happiness, and that's all. So we say Hallel, like we say a Pesach, we enjoy family time. We don't spend so much time in shul, and we don't pray Hashem so much, and we don't prepare the whole month of Elul to it. So besides being a commemoration of what happened, of the renewal of life, etc., like we said, the day of the creation of human beings, there's a deeper meaning to Rosh Hashanah. So, Day of Judgment, and this is all the idea that we know, and it's very known. But what I want to go, and I think this is the core of Rosh Hashanah, and I will explain why it's the core of Rosh Hashanah, is to crown HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Oh. Can I say something nice?
Please.
The reason why we humans blow shofar on Rosh Hashanah is to crown HaKadosh Baruch Hu, but we gave something extra from us. Because nafach nishmaten, what does it mean? That he blew into our mouth his soul into us. So we, in return, we return back with our neshifa, with our blow of the shofar to him.
That's beautiful.
I heard it. It's in the home.
That's beautiful.
You got it?
Yeah.
It's the same token, you understand? The way that he gave us life, we give him without the...
On the same day. On the same day.
Yeah, of course.
Hashem blew into
It's amazing, right?
Yes, it's
What
a
a nice
beautiful.
thought that was. When I heard it, I was like, wow.
Beautiful explanation. Fascinating. So the idea is the crowning HaKadosh Baruch Hu. If we pay attention, so the idea of the Day of Judgment, you will see, I guess, 90% of the classes on Rosh Hashanah is the Day of Judgment. Day of Judgment, we have to prepare ourselves to fix our actions. But this is secondary. Secondary, yes, because it's something that derives from the idea of crowning the king. I will explain very soon how it's something that derives from crowning HaKadosh Baruch Hu on the universe. And if you look in the order of the tefillot, so we place the telephone here not to be disturbed officially.
And I did not even believe that my phone is going to work over here, and I don't like to bring the phone today.
So the idea is crowning the king. So what is crowning the king? What is a king first? That's what we have to figure out. But I was saying that the proof that the core of Rosh Hashanah is crowning HaKadosh Baruch Hu and asking him to be our king, to lead us, This is the main point of Rosh Hashanah. This is also seen in the tefillot. We just were with Rabbi Friedman discussing the prayer of Rosh Hashanah, and we know that the longest prayer that we have in the year is the day of Rosh Hashanah. Which part of the prayer? Musaf. The second prayer of Rosh Hashanah is Musaf, is the longest prayer of the year. And what is composed? Is composed of 3 stages. Stage number 1, Malchuyot. Second, Shofarot. Zichronot. Third, Shofarot. Malchuyot, Zichronot, Shofarot.
The Musaf של יום ראשון, של יום
Both days.
Both days.
Both days. We have the longest prayer, Musaf Rosh Hashanah. Longer than Yom Kippur. I'm saying the Shmona Esrei Amidah is the longest one. How is this built? Crowning HaKadosh Baruch Hu, then memorizing all the creatures and analyzing and judging them. If you go through all the verses speaking about HaKadosh Baruch Hu, memorizing everything and scanning every single creature, all the category of creatures, this is in secondary position. And then finally, we speak about verses about shofar. So we see clearly that the core of Rosh Hashanah is first Malchuyot. We speak about HaKadosh Baruch Hu, and that goes again and again and again, not only in Musaf, every single prayer. Arvit of Rosh Hashanah, Shacharit of Rosh Hashanah, Musaf of Rosh Hashanah. And again, Mincha of Rosh Hashanah, we always say, the first thing is, Meloch al olam kulo bichvodecha. Please, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, be the king on the whole universe. Except to lead us, except to provide energy to this world. So if you see that again and again, in all the prayer of Rosh Hashanah, this is what comes out, that's the flash, and especially also in the order of the blessings of the Musaf, it's also Malchuyot. The kingship of Hashem comes first. It means this is the priority. That's number 1. That's the core of Rosh Hashanah. Okay?
The concept of Melech Basadeh, the king is in the field.
Yes.
Especially for Elul or for
Elul.
Rosh Hashanah?
Elul. That's a separate topic. Separate topic, but it's connected to Rosh Hashanah, of course, because of the preparation to Rosh Hashanah. But what I want to bring is that we crowning HaKadosh Baruch Hu. How do we crown HaKadosh Baruch Hu, says the Gemara? In Rosh Hashanah, the Masechet of Rosh Hashanah, the Talmud tract of Rosh Hashanah, page 16, he says over there, Imru lefanai malchuyot. Please speak about the crownship of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Where in the Tefillah of Rosh Hashanah? Kedei shetamlichuni alechem, in order to accept my kingship on you. Which means HaKadosh Baruch Hu is asking us to beg him and to ask him to be our king. Continue the Gemara. And how do we finalize that? Ubame, beshofar. How do we do that? By a shofar. Which means that the shofar, it's not only the cry of a baby, it's not only the idea of crying and doing teshuvah. There's a different meaning to shofar. And if you link it to the core of Rosh Hashanah, is crowning HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Rabbeinu Sadia Gaon, a big tzaddik, we call him Gaon. You know who were the Gaonim? The Gaonim were the tzaddikim that lived right after the Gemara was concluded. They still lived in Babylonia. It was still when Babylonian Jewry still was the biggest community, Jewish community in the world, and was well established. After that, the Islam caused the Babylonian Jewry to be destroyed and expelled, and all of the Jews moved to other places. Big part of them went to Spain. The majority of them went to Spain, and this is the Sephardic Jewry started to become the biggest community of the world. Spanish, Sephard means Spanish, and then some of them went also to North Africa, to Tunisia, Algeria, and Morocco a little bit. That was, so in the time of Gaonim, we have Rabbeinu Sadia Gaon, one of, we could say, the biggest Jewish philosopher we had in the history, together with Rambam. Rabbeinu Sadia Gaon is Rasag, we call it. Yeah, Rambam is an acronym. It's Rashi Tevot, Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon, Rasag, Rabbeinu Sadia Gaon. He wrote so many books about Jewish philosophy. And he says the following, if we pay attention, this year we had the crowning of King Charles. And I viewed a little bit the beginning, because after that was Avodah Zarah, I just closed the video. But how they do that? There is all, the beginning of the ceremony is blowing with trumpet. Eitan. Welcome, welcome. We are happy to see you. So, how did they crown King Charles in England? With trumpets. This is the beginning of the ceremony. Check it out. Yeah, that's crazy. That's a lot of customs of Jewish customs. But I'm saying the beginning of the crownship.
You understand? You know, you have to oil the king. Even they did the same thing with it. And where was the oil? In a vase that it came from Yerushalayim.
Because this is what's written in the Bible. They are very sort of saying faithful to the Bible, to the Old Testament. So, to continue in this idea, how do we crown, Rabbeinu Saadia Gaon says, how do we crown our King HaKadosh Baruch Hu on the universe? By blowing shofars, just like human beings. It became the culture of human beings to blow on the day of the crownship of a new king.
Like the announcement.
The announcement that now we renew, it's a renewal of the kingship of this king on us. This is just a statement of the Gemara that how do we crown HaKadosh Baruch Hu on ourselves on the day of Rosh Hashana? This is with shofar. Now a question to you, Rabotai. What is a king for you? Who deserves to be a king? Who would you elect to be a king? Eitan, I want to hear you.
Someone who's very fair, knows how to treat people, understanding, knows how to lead people, knows how to take responsibility. A bunch of attributes.
So that's beautiful. This beautiful description. Beautiful description. I will divide it into three types of kings we had in the history. Today we don't have so many kings, but we had people that Baal Zoa, mafionaire, people that are from the mafia, that are very powerful physically, and they threaten other people, and they kill right and left, and they reach the throne. This is a dictator. Yeah, Putin. That's it. We have another type of king, which is a person which is very talented in management. He's very talented. He likes to manage a thing. He's very talented, very smart, capable. He has courage. And he enjoys leading. And this is another type of person that will reach the kingship. And then we have a third guy, which is extremely talented, emotionally, mentally, intellectual capacity is very, very high. He knows how to lead, but he doesn't have an enjoyment to lead. Which of the three you think this is the description of the king in the Torah?
But wait a second, we're missing the third one.
That's the third. The one that enjoy leading and is very talented in it. And there is the one which is extremely talented also, but we have to beg him to become a king. Basically, he's not enjoying it.
So I think it's
we
the
have
second one, the begging one. That's the one.
So if you've seen the history, all of our leaders, the best leaders that Am Yisrael had, were people that did not enjoy leading. They didn't want to be leaders.
Yeah.
The first example to come to your mind, Moshe Rabbeinu. Moshe Rabbeinu says to Hashem, "Don't send me.
Leave me alone.
Shlach na beyat tishlach. Sends another person. They will be. I'm sure you will find very talented people, much more than me." He's not. It's not a fake modesty. He knows exactly that he's very talented. Moshe Rabbeinu is. He knows that he's very smart, and he has the charisma of leading, etc. But he says, for me, leading and now starting to take care of every single individual, it's too much for me. It's not what I want, because he's much beyond that. Which means himself is very reserved for himself. And he thinks that he will drop him down in a sort of saying to start taking care of a community, taking care of a people. Moshe Rabbeinu, he says, Kasher Yisa Omen Tayonek, I have to take care of you like a babies. No, really, like a newborn, he says. That is the term. Because Moshe Rabbeinu was busy from early morning till late night. His father-in-law told him, you cannot continue like this. You have to delegate. You have
separate to 70.
That's it. You have to delegate. You have to put other people that will help you leading. Because, and later on he says, the guys were so annoying with Moshe Rabbeinu, they had all kinds of conflict of politics, and Moshe Rabbeinu has to solve all kinds of ego problem. People has problem in ego, and this wants the power, and Moshe Rabbeinu has to deal with it. You know how Moshe Rabbeinu was elevated before that? Where he has to deal with it. So Hashem sort of saying has to tell him, please Moshe, go. I want you. And then of course he accepts the mission. Second example that we easily could find. David HaMelech, King David. King David. He's also not willing. But before him also Shaul, the first king of Israel. He doesn't want. Shmuel the prophet comes to tell him, Hashem wants you to be a king. And he knows the description about Shaul, we say in the Tanakh, Mishichmo v'ma'ala gavoa mikol, which means his shoulders was beyond the average head of person. I'm saying among like 100%, he was taller. But the commentaries explain us that it was not only physically, his capacity, intellectual capacity, his emotions, which means his shoulders, the heart, was higher than the intellectual capacity of the average people. Even the smartest people in Am Yisrael. Which means he was extremely talented, and when he comes to be crowned, where is he hiding? He ran away.
In the kitchen.
Ela kelim, behind the dishes. He doesn't want people to see him, he doesn't want. The same idea. He thinks that if he will continue in the service of God by himself, he will reach much higher than taking care of a nation, leading them on a war, military, economy, politics. It's too much for him. He's not willing to do that. And David HaMelech, exactly the same. He even expressed that to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. He says, Lo chasidani, the whole night I spend to taking care of the blood of Nida, and after that I have the military coming to me, and then I have Dinei Torah. David HaMelech is much beyond that. And so this is the king. The king in the perspective of the Torah. Dictatorship, of course not. It's not a... But even a person that is willing and enjoy leadership is not a king. He's a person which in reality is so high, is so elevated emotionally and intellectually that is disconnected from the nation. He's disconnected from the nation. He's not an outgoing person. We have to beg him to start leading. How do you say all the time? Red La'am. That's the idea. That's the idea. Go down to the nation. What means go down? Moshe Rabbeinu is disconnected from the nation. He's much beyond. And we have to ask him to lead us. The Gemara says in Brachot the same idea. This is not only, if it exists here on earth, it's because it's a reflection of what happens in heaven. Which means the kingdom of Hashem over the universe works in the same system. Which means HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the whole entire universe, for him is zero significance. He is not significant at all. Because the whole existence of this universe is not a true existence. It exists only because Hashem decided to give some energy to it at every single moment. So I'm asking you a simple question. The distance between 1 and a million, is it bigger distance than from 0 to 1? Huh? From 1 to 1 million, there is still a ratio. Exactly, which means, what is a million? 1 million times 1. So there is a connection, there is a erech, how do we say in Hebrew? But 0 to 1, this distance is much beyond that, because non-existence to existence. So I'm saying the idea is that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, which is the only true existence, compared to us, that we are just existing because of the energy that he pours every single second. So this distance is, there is nothing to compare. Is en aroch. How you would translate in English en aroch?
It's not
Endlessly,
longevity.
like endlessly.
It's not endless.
It's nothing to compare. There is nothing to start comparing. So therefore, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, to lead the world by giving energy, by providing his Shekhinah on earth, we need to ask him to do that. Because he's disconnected. We have to beg HaKadosh Baruch Hu to reveal his kingdom, his kingship on earth. To lead, to bring more energy, to see more kindness in the world, to see more justice. Because HaKadosh Baruch Hu is disconnected, has nothing to do with this world. It's completely menutak. And in order to see more the presence of Hashem in our world, we have to beg him, sort of saying. We have to ask him, please, Meloch, this is the first word you're saying every Amidah of Rosh Hashana. Meloch al haolam kulo bichvodecha. Please, lead us in this world. And this is the main point of Rosh Hashana I wanted to say.
So are we telling him to come here?
We beg him.
So, by asking, like people of a kingdom, when they want to crown a new king, and they found the correct person that we described, the third category of person, we tell them, please, you are the guy. We want you as a king. Just like David, Moshe. Yeah. I will tell you a confidence. Between 1950 and 1951, there was no Rebbe in Chabad. Was no Rebbe in Chabad. You know why? Because the Rebbe didn't want. He did not want to lead 1 year. No leaders in a massive movement. People had to beg the Rebbe for a full year till he accepted the leadership of Chabad. 1 year, one full year, no shiurim, no nothing. Nothing happened. Just Kaddish on the previous Rebbe that passed away, that's it. I'm saying just to bring up the idea that something happening in our generation. 50 to 51, no Rebbe. And after that, when he accepted, he leads with full power. Yeah. I'm saying the idea is so this is Rosh Hashana basically. Now, tonight's topic was, what do we do when Rosh Hashana is Shabbat? Rosh Hashana is Shabbat, you all know that this first day of Rosh Hashana, we're not going to blow shofar. And how do we crown our king? With shofar. But we have no shofar. We are not allowed to blow shofar on Rosh Hashana, whatever the reason is. Yeah, the Gemara says, because Rabbah, we don't want to carry the shofar in Reshut HaRabbi in the public domain. That's why we don't blow shofar on Shabbat.
Why you don't want to leave it here?
Because people don't listen to shofar only in synagogues. People are listening to shofar also at home. But the main idea was that not everyone is expert to blow shofar. And not anyone knows the halachot. Even if you know how to blow, there is many rules in case of mistake, how to fix yourself. So there's a whole chapter in Jewish law how to blow and how to fix your mistake if you couldn't blow properly. So we are scared that a person that does not know how to blow or would have some question, he will carry the shofar to the rabbi, to the chacham of the city, and will ask him, how do I blow? Or if I blew in this way, is it good? And I'll show you how I blew at home. You understand?
Is it also considered an instrument?
No, because playing an instrument on Shabbat, it's only a shvut, which means it's only a prohibition of the sages. And of course, the sage wouldn't place this prohibition when it's a mitzvah of the Torah. Hashem tells us in the Torah, in the Sefer Torah, it says to blow shofar on Rosh Hashana. So of course, they will waive the idea of not playing an instrument on Shabbat. That wouldn't take place. The only reason is for a problem of carrying the shofar in public domain. So, back to our original question, how we will achieve the crownship of HaKadosh Baruch Hu without shofar. The Gemara explicitly says in Rosh Hashana 16, that how do we crown? By prayer, but mainly through shofar. So we don't have shofar. How do we do that? That's a big question about it. So here there's a very interesting point. The Rebbe is revealing a very deeper meaning, that for sure, if we don't blow shofar on Shabbat, It is because the non-blowing is already a service of Hashem. Non-blowing shofar on Shabbat, Rosh Hashana, it's because it's a type of service, not to blow. And I will explain. He says the following: why can't we do the 39 works on Shabbat? So of course it says in Torah, but there is a deeper meaning. Why on Shabbat we are not allowed to turn on a fire, build a tent, build a building, demolishing, all those works that we are not allowed to do on Shabbat? He says, yeah, so the idea of menucha, beautiful. So you said not to sweat. Your father says to rest. That's what's written in Torah, right? But on a deeper meaning of Kabbalah, it says because on Shabbat, HaKadosh Baruch Hu's presence is tangible. Now, we know that in the customs of behavior in front of a king is different than when you are not in front of a king. You know, recently our president went to England to meet the king, the new king, and didn't follow the whole, politesse. Politesse, you know what politesse is?
To be polite in front of
The polite way, which means you don't touch the king, for example. There's certain rules in certain kingdoms. We don't touch the king. You could say hello. If he shakes your hands, you're allowed to, but you don't give him a hug or bang on his back like a friend. You don't do that. President Biden did it, just to explain you that he was not aware or maybe was not conscious. Because they're all old. Yes. So what I was saying is that in front of a king, you are in a non-active mode. The old tefillah, you could walk, you could sit, you could move, you could make signs to people. If they ask you how are you, you make them a sign. If it's not Pesukei Dezon, you could even answer. Or if it's a respected person, you could tell them, you could speak in the middle of the tefillah, no problem. Even in the middle of Shema Yisrael, if it's an important person, you could respond. But if you are in the middle of a midah, which means you're already entering the throne hall, you don't talk. It could be your father talking to you. It could be the president of Israel or the prime minister. You don't respond. This is the words of the Mishnah. It's not my words. The king of Israel telling you, how are you? You don't respond. Why? You will understand you're in Amidah. If it's a non-Jewish king, he might kill you, so you do respond. But I'm saying the idea is understandable. That in front of a king, there is only the king. There is no expression. Not even to a prime minister which is next to the king. Yeah. Imagine you have the king, you're entering for a meeting with the king, and there's the prime minister next to him. You say, hello, how are you? This is disrespectful. When you're coming to the king, there is only the king. Says the Gemara, the person that makes a sign to a friend in front of the king when he's meeting the king, what is the din? He's killed. That's what, not the Torah, that's not the Torah, that's the human being's acceptance. We accepted that in the monarchy, I'm saying in the world of then. Why? Because this is the reason why on Shabbat we don't do the 39 works. Which means that the presence of Hashem is so powerful and is so tangible for a person that could feel it, could meditate on the presence of Hashem on Shabbat, that you are in non-activity mode. It's not only, because I want to rest. Here it's not about me. That I want to bring the two faces. When I speak about Rosh Hashana, the day of judgment, which means I am in the center, I am judged. I am in the center. When I speak about the crownship of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, is Hashem in the center. I am on the side. Is Him. Is the one that we are celebrating, not me, not my judgment. Same idea. If I am here to rest on Shabbat, it's me in the center. And this is the surface of the Torah. This is but if you go deeper, it's the presence of Hashem. In front of the king, you're in non-activity mode. You don't move. Just like in Amidah, you don't move. You're not allowed to walk during Amidah. You're not allowed to talk and not to respond even a very important person. you're reaching a level of nullification of your ego in front of the king, which is so high, you don't act. This is the level of Rosh Hashana when it's Shabbat. Which means we're crowning the king not in a way of blowing shofar, because blowing shofar, it's as if I would make a certain action. I have still my ego, I have still my existence, and my existence accept the kingship of Hashem. How? I express it with an action. So I still exist, I am still in the center. But when I am in non-activity mode, I am not existing. I'm just expressing my nullification to the king in not moving. That's a higher level.
So, question. A Rosh Hashana that falls on Shabbat, it's higher than any other day?
Absolutely.
Wow.
Which means it's not,
You know where we're going?
it's not a lack of acceptance of the kingship on us. Rosh Hashanah, that we don't have the shofar, is not downgrading Rosh Hashanah. It's a higher level. We have to come to a certain meditation in the days before Rosh Hashanah, that HaKadosh Baruch Hu is so elevated and so beyond the universe and the creation of the universe that I cannot even express my nullification to him. I just sit quietly in front of him. I don't move, because this is that's the most expression of nullification to the king. I will bring just the idea of this reflects beautifully also in the days of the creation. Why Rosh Hashanah was decided to be on the day of the creation of the human being, on the 6th day, Aleph Tishri, the 1st of Tishri, not on the 25th of Elul, 6th day before, the day Hashem created the universe, the time and space. That's the beginning of the beginning. The human being was 6 days later.
Because the man is the highest, how you call it, highest of all things.
Exactly. Which means that Kadosh Baruch Hu wanted the Rosh Hashanah to be marked on the day of the human being. Why? Because Hashem don't want to be a dictator. HaKadosh Baruch Hu was a ruler. What is the difference between a ruler and a king in the perspective of Torah? A ruler is the one that says, okay guys, I am the, the strongest one here. You have to accept my authority, and if you don't, I kill you. That's the way a ruler rules over other people. That's it. That's a ruler. And this is the expression of the kingship of Hashem the first 6 days. What happened the 6th day when the human being got created? Adam HaRishon got created. The first thing he says to all the creatures that exist, Bo nishtachave v'nichra nivrecha l'Hashem Elokeinu, l'Hashem Osem. This is what we say on Friday afternoon, right, Kabbalat Shabbat. He says, come, let's accept the kingdom of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the kingship of Hashem on us. Let's bow down to him. And what they responded? All together, Hashem malach Yehut lavesh. That's what we say every Friday. That Hashem now is a king. So before he was a ruler, now he's a king. Because we accepted him, the kingship has to be accepted by us. So this is, Friday is an expression of shofar, which means Adam HaRishon has to express he is existing, he feels his existence, and he accepts the kingship of HaKadosh Baruch Hu. But then there is Shabbat. Shabbat, non-activity. Zero activity. I accept the kingship without doing any action. Just by not doing, I am in front of the king, I'm not moving. That's the idea of Rosh Hashana Shechal Yad B'Shabbat. That's the two level. And I will...
Is there a connection between not speaking during the hand and the rosh or something like that? Or is there a different reason?
I don't know if there is a connection on the...
I have a question. Did Adam blow the shofar? Adam blew the shofar?
The shofar didn't exist. I'm saying on the surface of, when you read the Torah, there is no shofar yet, till very late. So the first time we have a hint for the shofar is already the ram.
What's nice about what you just asked? I'm
Yes.
going to work on it. It says that, let's say for example, I learned that there is no ot samech from the Bereshit all the way to Yom HaShishi. But what was the first time that the samech showed up? When the word sovev et ארבעת הנערות, סובב.
Yeah,
So I'm going to look when is the first time that the word shofar came into
the Torah.
our-
Very late. But
Is it?
we have a
Well,
hint
I'll find out.
for the shofar in the story of the ram of Yitzchak, of Isaac.
אבל-
When it was exchanged, so we say that the ram his horn were taken in the bush, so he couldn't move. And then Abraham take him and switches him with Yitzchak. So Isaac is saved, he's not being killed, and the ram. So here we have the first hint for the idea of shofar, but it's only very late in the Torah. When we have already the commandments on the holidays, then HaKadosh Baruch Hu speaks about the shofar. But back to your question, Rosh and Yad, the tefillin of the hand, no, I don't think it's more technical, not to cause the name of Hashem to be repeated in vain. But maybe there is a deeper meaning. I don't know yet. I don't know of any connection yet.
Rabbi, and also not to say divrei chol between Rosh and Yad.
Yeah, that's what he said. That's what he said. I'm saying he's asking if there is any connection to the idea of not expressing anything in front of the king. So I don't have any idea to link the two ideas. For sure, maybe there is a connection, but I don't know yet. Maybe one day.
Well, I was thinking maybe that you're bounding yourself with what he gave you.
Ah, I hear. Maybe the idea of placing the Rosh is also an idea of crowning HaKadosh Baruch Hu. And therefore you cannot interact. Okay, maybe. We have to see if we could connect it beautifully with more detail. But now I would just finalize with one more idea. The biggest question that raises now is in Bet HaMikdash, in the Holy Temple, when Rosh Hashana was Shabbat, we did blow the shofar. We did blow the shofar. And there is a whole limud in the Torah, how we know that, and why we have to do it. So the question comes, if Shabbat is the highest level of nullification where we expect from you being in front of the king not to move, and this is how you express your deepest nullification to the king and the crownship of the king, that you accept his kingship, till you don't move in front of him. So why in Bet HaMikdash you do blow shofar? That's the question.
How many times was Shabbat in Bet HaMikdash?
What do you mean?
It doesn't come Shabbat for Rosh Hashana
Often?
often.
It happens every 6 years, something like that.
6?
Approximately, yeah.
Wow.
The last time we had it,
I think last time was more than 6 years now.
maybe 5 years ago, something like that. Yeah, I think so.
So there was plenty of time that they were.
No, it's not so often, no. But it's, in the time of Bet HaMikdash was no cycle of calendar. Everything was based on the view of the. So it could have happened more often or maybe less often. It's not. We didn't have a calendar. The calendar was modified every single month, basically. So.
So what would they look for in the sky that they know it's Rosh Hashana?
So the moon.
But the moon always looks the same when it's a new
No, so if you see the moon,
But still, it's full moon.
so the full moon is the half of the month, which means the 15th of the month. And when it gets completely thin and disappear in the sky, so you know that it's the end of the month. And when it shows up again, it's a new month.
But that happens every couple of months.
It happens what?
Every month.
That happens, yeah, every couple of.
Every month.
Yeah, but then it's also the position of the moon towards that star. Yeah.
So every 29 days, 12 hours, and approximately 7.5 minutes, something like that, you have the renewal of the moon, which means the moon becomes big and thin again. Disappear and
So Rosh Hashana will be thin.
Yes.
very thin.
Very thin.
Very thin. So as soon as
Where in the sky? How do you
so they had some calculation. Now, like in about a month from now, maybe 3.5 weeks from now, we're going to learn all the astronomy in Rambam with your father in the morning, and that will be crazy mathematics.
Just like what I showed you that it came 2000 came out, whatever the thinking about the Egyptians.
So
How they came out.
building a calendar is pretty easy. It's some formula of mathematics
Right.
that you repeat and repeat and repeat, and you know the month when you will be Rosh Chodesh for 1,000 years from now.
And also the times, the hours, when Kinsat Shabbat, when like a
That's easy.
everything.
I'm saying it's pretty easy. When you know how to make the calculation, if you know how to write on a paper some mathematics basis, you know how to do it. It's not so hard. What's hard, however, it's where to find the moon. Where to find the moon in the sky, at which hours. And that's very complicated. And there is 4 chapters that if we manage to understand like we did for the structure of the Ruvin, we are the masters of the world. I'm telling you. If we there is 4 chapters that I never managed in my life, but this year we'll manage. There is nothing that threatened me in the Torah. We'll do it. We'll do it. I managed to learn once of those 4 chapters. I managed one chapter, but after the 3, it's pure astronomy and very, very deep, with Greek ideas from the sages of Greece of 1,500. I'm saying a millennium and a half ago.
When is it after Shabbat? After Shabbat?
No, not after Shabbat. It will be in 3.5 weeks from now, approximately, when we're going to finish.
Every morning we have a shiur on Bava.
Yeah, but
you are aware of it, but you are very busy, so I know you're listening to it on Spotify.
so actually,
That's Spotify.
if we want to be sure to understand it, we'll need to bring a screen, because then there is a person that did lesson on those 4 chapters of Rambam of the All Astronomy in English, with a lot of, you see all the galaxy turning and spinning, and he explains it very well. So I didn't look because it's maybe 8 hours of class, but we
Does Rabbi Gordon go to it?
Rabbi Gordon doesn't. Yeah, when it comes to those 4 chapters, he says, I am not capable, I'm leaving another rabbi. So he has another rabbi that takes over for those 4 chapters, or for 6 chapters, I don't know. Yeah, an expert in that department. Okay. Yeah, even though Rabbi Gordon is the one that covered the whole Torah, you know, read it. But for those 4 chapters, he says that he wants another person. Yeah. Okay, so let's finish just for the idea of the Bet HaMikdash. How in the Bet HaMikdash? Why in the Bet HaMikdash we have to blow shofar? If you're reaching the top by none, blowing on Shabbat, because Shabbat express being in front of the king, and this is the biggest nullification you could express in front of the king by not moving. So what higher than that could be? There is no higher.
Why we blow shofar on Rosh Hashana? Or why we blow
Yeah, they did blow shofar in Bet HaMikdash. In Bet HaMikdash.
because of the Holy of Holies, maybe, no?
So, what does it represent? Beautiful. You're touching the point of Bet HaMikdash. What is Bet HaMikdash in reality? Bet HaMikdash is the only place on earth where the divinity of Hashem expresses its full, completely. Where did we see that, for example? In the Holy of the Holy, which means that the dimension of time and space was completely mixed with a higher than time and space, which means the creation and before creation were mixed together. How did we notice that? Because the Holy Arch that we had in Bet HaMikdash was approximately a box, rectangle box like this, golden box, and he had a certain size, amatayim v'chetzi, ve'ama v'chetzi, ve'ama v'chetzi, which means approximately 1 meter long and half of a meter tall, and the width was also half of a meter. So it takes space, right? The room was taking space also, was 20 amot, if I'm not mistaken. 20 amot width.
Yeah.
And when we measured from one wall to the box,
Yeah.
and from the other side, from the wall to the other edge of the box, we found 20, which means the Aron was, if you would measure it with a tape measure, it would take space, but it was not. He had a certain measurement, but it was not taking space in the room.
Oh, but that's very small.
Yeah, it was small. The Aron was small. It's not as we think massive. It was small. So the idea was that we saw something of the divinity of Hashem that transcend completely the rules of nature without nullifying nature. That's the biggest. Because in Kriyat Yam Suf, for example, Hashem just changed and turned over the whole nature of the water. Yeah, the water was standing, and Jews could have crossed it. So this is when Hashem comes in conflict with nature and nullify the nature. But there is a higher level where Hashem could express His full divinity, transcend the whole existence of this world without nullifying the existence. And we'll give an example. Once there was a king that had a crown, beautiful crown, but not all the time the king wants to have the crown on the head. It's heavy, so sometimes he needs to put it on a stole or on a hooks, 3 hooks like this, special, that fits the crown, and he placed it there. And came an advisor and he said, why to put it in something? Maybe you could place it, instead of building a beautiful stole for it, place it on the head of a minister of you. When he's, do you have always minister sitting next to you?
Moment he just chopped his head.
So of course, what was the reaction of the king? Very angry. Why do you give such a advice? Why? Because as much as a minister could be nullified to the king, even by not moving in front of the king, like we said. Not moving, he's not moving in front of his king. But he would never place his crown on him, because that will create some confusion, because at the end he has still an existence. He's not completely nullified. However, the level of Bet HaMikdash is just the opposite. That there is a level where the existence of the simple maid that helped the king, he could even do activity in front of the king, doesn't disturb the king at all. Is not a disrespect of the king, because he is here part of the existence of the king. He is not an existence for itself. He is completely merged with the existence of the king. He's part of the household, he's part of the family of the king, he's part of him. So that's why he moves and he serves him water and he serves him tea and it's not a person like a stranger that would start doing that, or we start making signs in front of the king. He's not disturbing the existence of the king. So the existence of this type of maid, of this type of domestic helper, is completely not in contradiction. It's just contributing, you're saying in English, contributes to the existence of the king. This is the level of Bet HaMikdash, which means that here the existence of the material things are not a conflict. Shofar is not an expression that there is a person that blows shofar, so he's in an active mode, so he's a separate entity than the king. No. The shofar in Bet HaMikdash is completely merged in the existence of the king. This is what we saw by Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai. Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was such an elevated person that the Zohar HaKadosh says on him, Man pnei Adon avayed darashbi. If you want to see HaKadosh Baruch Hu, look at Rashbi. But this is shocking term. How could you say that on a human being? And the answer was that Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai was not existing. He was not existing. He reached a level of nullification to HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that even by acting and moving, he was not disturbing HaKadosh Baruch Hu as a separate entity. This is the level of Bet HaMikdash, which means in the embassy of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, there is no separate entity. Everything is, all the existence of the universe is completely merged in the existence of Hashem. We saw that in the Aron Kodesh, in the Holy High. So this is why in Bet HaMikdash we did blow shofar, but for us, what it means, what is our job today? Just to summarize, we have 3 jobs, we have 3 levels of crowning the king. There is the level of acting in front of the king, blowing shofar. This is Rosh Hashana on a weekday. But there is still an existence of the person. There is a person that will crown the king, a separate entity. I am willing to accept the kingship of Hashem on me, but I am here. There is stage number 1, I, and stage number 2, accept the kingship of Hashem.
So what do we do between the times when we were supposed to blow the shofar and just stay silent, or?
Yeah, we're just gonna say verse of shofar, but we don't gonna blow shofar. Yeah, just like during the Amidah, you say blessings to Hashem, but you don't move. You're not acting. So this is the specialty of the Musaf that we will have with no shofar. Usually during the Amidah of Musaf, we blow shofar. Here we don't gonna blow because we're reaching such a level on Shabbat. The presence of Hashem is in front of us. We don't move.
And I think from here we can also see that's why Rosh Hashana have 2 days.
Yes, 2 levels. 2 levels. 2 levels.
Because that's the only holiday Israel and here have 2 days.
In Israel, if it comes out on Shabbat, they would blow it or no?
No,
Also.
no, only in Bet HaMikdash. And then we have the 3rd level where your activity is already not as a separate entity, is as an entity which is completely merged with HaKadosh Baruch Hu's existence, like in the Kodesh HaKodashim. So this is the 3 level. What comes out for us? Morai v'Rabotai, what comes out for us? But in the following days, thank you. That now, preparing ourselves to a day of Rosh Hashanah, which is on Shabbat, we have to come to this meditation, to this consciousness that we are completely nullified due to the presence of Hashem. We are not moving. Maybe, I gave one suggestion tonight, that for the next 10 days, yeah, we have 10 days tonight, 10 days exactly, 10 days left till Rosh Hashanah.
Today
Before
Chai Elul.
Chai Elul, yeah, is the birthday of the Baal Shem Tov and the Baal HaTanya. Today was the 18th of Elul, a very special day, the birth of the Baal HaTanya and the Baal Shem Tov. Eitan, you went to the Baal Shem Tov, right? You had a big zchut. I didn't have this zchut. God willing, Bezat Hashem.
Bezat Hashem.
So, those two brought a revolution to the world by revealing the Chassidut, which is a totally different perspective on service of Hashem. Totally different. We never had that in the history. And what I was saying is that for the next 10 days before Shemona Esrei, which is the idea that we just express, Shabbat Rosh Hashanah is the idea of Amidah, not non-activity. Maybe we should train ourselves 15 seconds before Amidah to think about it. Every single Amidah, you come to Rosh Hashanah, you are in the mood. You're already in the energy of it. You already understand what I meant. You understand what we just spoke about. 15 seconds, you don't start your Amidah, you're meditating, I am now coming in front of the king, I don't move. And that's why Shulchan Aruch says, before you starting Amidah, make sure to blow your nose. Make sure to, if you have something to throw, saliva, throw it out. If you need bath, you have to be just like you're entering the king's hall. This, I think, will prepare us to such a high level of Rosh Hashanah, starting a year like that, with this high level of nullification to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Bezrat Hashem will be a very massive, successful year. We'll have all Kol Malachtenu Asuya, all our jobs, all our success already in our hand, just like Shabbat, the mindset of Shabbat. Okay. Bezrat Hashem, Bezrat Hashem.
Thank you, Rabbi.
Chazak for participating, for helping me to think with you, because I would never